The soft glow of chandeliers bathed the interior of Belinotti restaurant in warm light, as the Chen family was led to their table near the small performance area. The air carried the rich scents of garlic, basil, and fresh bread. 12-year-old Maya walked quietly between her parents, her dark eyes taking in every detail of the upscale Italian restaurant, from the crisp white tablecloths to the polished wooden floors. "Is this okay?" the host asked, gesturing to a table with a perfect view of the small raised platform where the evening's performer would sing. "It's perfect," Mr. Chen said, pulling out a chair for his wife before sitting down himself. Maya slid into her seat, smoothing down the simple blue dress she had chosen specifically for tonight. She didn't say much as her parents discussed the menu, her attention drawn to the baby grand piano in the corner and the microphone stand waiting empty on the platform. "Are you excited, Maya?" her mother asked, noticing her daughter's gaze. Maya nodded, a small smile playing at the corners of her lips. "I can't believe we're actually going to hear Elisa Monteverdi sing live." What the other diners in the bustling restaurant didn't know, what nobody except her family and music teacher knew, was that Maya Chen was no ordinary 12-year-old when it came to music. Since the age of 4, she had been studying classical voice, initially just for fun, but it soon became clear that there was something special about the little girl's voice. A gift that her modest piano teacher had described with tears in her eyes as once in a generation. Yet Maya had never performed outside of school recitals and the occasional competition. She was shy by nature, preferring the safety of her bedroom where she could sing along to recordings of Maria Callas and Joan Sutherland without anyone watching. "Look at the menu, sweetheart," her father urged, breaking into her thoughts. "They have that pasta you like." Maya glanced down at the menu, but her mind was elsewhere. In her small backpack beside her chair was her notebook, the one where she wrote down lyrics to her favorite arias and made notes about technique. She had brought it hoping to jot down observations while watching a real professional perform. As they ordered their food, the restaurant continued to fill. Maya noticed several people mentioning the special performance as they were seated. Elisa Monteverdi wasn't world famous, but in their city she was something of a local celebrity, having sung with the regional opera company for years before branching out as a solo performer. "Did you know?" her mother leaned over to whisper. "Ms. Monteverdi started singing when she was just a little older than you? Around 15, I think." Maya's eyes widened slightly. She knew a lot about the soprano's career, but not that detail. "But she didn't start serious training until college," her father added. "Imagine where she might be if she'd started as young as you." Maya shrugged, uncomfortable with the comparison. "She's amazing no matter when she started." Their appetizers arrived, bruschetta with fresh tomatoes and basil, and Maya took a small bite, finding it hard to eat with the butterflies in her stomach. She wasn't even performing tonight, yet she felt nervous on behalf of the woman who would soon take the stage. The restaurant owner, a tall man with salt and pepper hair, approached the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bellinotti's monthly opera night. We are honored to have with us tonight the wonderful Elisa Monteverdi, who will be performing selections from Puccini and Verdi throughout the evening. Please enjoy your meal and the magnificent music." A polite round of applause filled the restaurant, as a woman in her late 30s walked confidently to the platform. She wore a floor-length black dress that sparkled subtly under the lights, her dark hair swept up in an elegant twist. With a warm smile, she nodded to the pianist, a serious-looking older man with thick glasses, and took her position. The first notes of the piano filled the space, and Maya instantly recognized the introduction to Un bel di vedremo from Madama Butterfly. She sat up straighter, her food forgotten, eyes fixed on the singer. When Elisa began to sing, Maya felt goosebumps rise on her arms. The soprano's voice was rich and expressive, floating effortlessly above the piano accompaniment. Maya's fingers began to move slightly in her lap, unconsciously conducting along with the music as she had done countless times at home. The restaurant had grown quiet except for the occasional clink of silverware against plates. Most people continued eating, enjoying the music as background to their meals, but Maya was completely transported. She watched how Elisa controlled her breathing, how she shifted her posture slightly for different phrases, how she used her hands sparingly but effectively to convey emotion. "Eat your food before it gets cold," her mother whispered, giving Maya's hand a gentle squeeze. With effort, Maya pulled her attention back to her plate of fettuccine, twirling the pasta around her fork while still listening intently. By the time Elisa finished the aria, Maya had barely made a dent in her dinner. The restaurant applauded enthusiastically, and Elisa took a small bow before addressing the crowd. "Thank you all for your warm welcome. I'll be taking a short break, but I'll return shortly with more music for you to enjoy with your dinner." As Elisa stepped away from the microphone, Maya watched her move among the tables, stopping occasionally to chat with diners she seemed to know. Several people asked for photos, which she graciously accepted. "She seems really nice," Maya said quietly. "Very down-to-earth for someone with her talent," her father agreed, finishing the last bite of his risotto. Maya pulled out her notebook and quickly jotted down a few observations about Elisa's performance. Perfect breath control during the long phrases, and beautiful pianissimo on high notes. She was so absorbed in her notes that she didn't notice Elisa approaching their table until her mother nudged her. "Good evening," Elisa greeted them warmly. "I hope you're enjoying your dinner." Maya's parents smiled and complimented her performance enthusiastically. Maya herself felt suddenly tongue-tied, looking up at the woman whose recordings she had listened to countless times. "And who's this young lady?" Elisa asked, her kind eyes turning to Maya. "This is our daughter Maya," her mother said proudly. "She's actually a huge fan of yours. She studies classical voice too." Maya felt her cheeks grow warm. "Mom," she whispered, embarrassed. Elisa's eyes lit up with interest. "Is that so? How wonderful! How long have you been studying?" Maya found her voice, though it came out quieter than usual. "Since I was 4, 8 years now." "That's impressive dedication for someone so young," Elisa said, sounding genuinely impressed. Her eyes fell on the notebook open on the table. "Are those notes about singing?" Maya nodded, resisting the urge to close the book. "I was just writing down some things I noticed about your performance. The way you controlled your breath during the long phrases in Un bel di was amazing." Elisa's eyebrows rose slightly, clearly surprised by the technical observation from someone so young. "You have a good ear. That's a challenging part of that area." She glanced at the notebook again. "May I?" Maya hesitated for just a moment before nodding. Elisa gently turned the notebook toward her and scanned a few pages, her expression growing increasingly intrigued. "These are very insightful notes," she said, turning another page where Maya had written out the lyrics to O mio babino caro with her own markings for breathing and expression. "This is one of my favorites. Do you sing it?" "It's one of her best pieces, Mr. Chen said proudly before Maya could answer. "Dad," Maya protested quietly, sinking a little in her chair. Elisa smiled at Maya's shyness. "Well, I'm planning to sing that one later tonight. Perhaps you'll give me your expert feedback afterward?" Maya nodded, her embarrassment mixing with excitement at the thought of hearing one of her favorite arias performed live. "I should get back," Elisa said, glancing toward the piano where the pianist was shuffling through his music. "It was lovely meeting you all, especially you, Maya. Keep up with those studies. A good foundation at your age is invaluable, as—" Elisa walked away. Maya's mother squeezed her daughter's hand. "She was so nice, and she was impressed with your notes." "I can't believe you told her I sing," Maya said, but there was no real annoyance in her voice. In fact, a small thrill ran through her at the connection, however brief, with a real professional singer. The restaurant had grown even more crowded during Elisa's break, with several people standing near the bar area, drinks in hand, waiting for the performance to continue. The owner returned to the microphone to announce the second half of the evening's music. As the piano introduction to a Verdi aria began, Maya closed her eyes for a moment, letting the music wash over her. She had never imagined being in the same room as someone like Elisa Monteverdi, let alone having the singer look at her notebook and compliment her knowledge. For the next 20 minutes, Maya sat entranced as Elisa performed a selection of opera favorites. The other diners continued their meals and conversations during the performance, but Maya couldn't focus on anything but the music. She noticed how Elisa connected with the audience, making eye contact with different sections of the restaurant, her expression changing to match the emotion of each piece. When the pianist began the familiar opening notes of "O mio babino caro," Maya felt her heart skip. This was the piece she had been practicing for months, the one her music teacher said suited her voice perfectly. She leaned forward slightly, eager to hear how Elisa would interpret it. As the evening continued, neither Maya nor anyone else in the restaurant could have predicted how this ordinary dinner was about to transform into something extraordinary, something that would change the course of a young girl's life and create a memory the diners of Bellinode would talk about for years to come. The final notes of "O mio babino caro" lingered in the air of Bella, not a restaurant, before dissolving into enthusiastic applause. Maya's hands came together almost automatically, her eyes wide with admiration. Elisa Monteverdi had performed the aria beautifully, with a tenderness that made several diners dab at their eyes with napkins. "Wasn't that wonderful?" Maya's mother whispered, leaning toward her daughter. Maya could only nod, words failing her. She had heard recordings of this piece hundreds of times, had sung it herself in her bedroom with the door closed, but hearing it performed live by a professional singer in this intimate setting was something else entirely. Elisa thanked the audience with a graceful nod. "I'll take a short break now, but I'll be back for one final set before the evening ends." As Elisa stepped away from the microphone, the restaurant's normal buzz of conversation resumed. Waiters moved smoothly between tables, delivering desserts and coffee to diners who had finished their main courses. The Chen family's table was cleared, and Mr. Chen ordered tiramisu for all of them to share. "Should we ask for her autograph before we leave?" Maya's father suggested, noticing how his daughter's eyes followed the soprano as she made her way through the restaurant. Maya shook her head quickly. "No, that would be embarrassing." Her mother smiled knowingly. "You just had a conversation with her earlier. Getting an autograph isn't any more embarrassing than that." "That was different," Maya insisted, fidgeting with her napkin. "She came to our table." The truth was, Maya felt a strange mix of emotions. Admiration for Elisa's talent, certainly, but also something else. A hunger, perhaps. Watching the soprano perform, Maya had felt a pulling sensation in her chest, as if her own voice was straining to join in, to be heard alongside the professionals. It was a feeling both frightening and exhilarating. Their dessert arrived, a perfect square of tiramisu dusted with cocoa powder. Maya took a small bite, barely tasting the rich coffee and mascarpone flavors. Her mind was still filled with music, with the way Elisa had shaped each phrase of the Puccini aria, with the perfect control she had demonstrated. "Maya, look," her mother said quietly, nudging her gently. Maya looked up to see Elisa making her way back toward their table, smiling warmly as she approached. Maya straightened in her chair, suddenly very conscious of the chocolate smudge that might be on her lip. "I hope you enjoyed that last piece," Elisa said, addressing Maya directly this time, "since I noticed it in your notebook earlier." Maya nodded, finding her voice. "It was beautiful. I loved how you took a little extra time before the high note on Papa." Elisa's eyes sparkled with pleased surprise at the specific observation. "You really do have an ear for detail. Do you perform that piece yourself?" Before Maya could demur, her father jumped in. "She does. Her music teacher says it suits her voice perfectly." "Dad," Maya protested softly, her cheeks warming. "I'm sure it does," Elisa said, her gaze appraising Maya with new interest. "What range do you sing in?" "Soprano," Maya answered, slightly less hesitant now that they were discussing technical details rather than her own abilities. "My teacher says I might be a lyric coloratura eventually, but it's too early to tell for sure." Elisa's eyebrows rose. "That's quite specific training for someone your age. Most young singers don't get that kind of technical classification until much later." "Maya's teacher says she's never had a student like her," Mrs. Chen said proudly. "She started her on proper breath control and technique from the very beginning." Since she showed such promise, Maya stared down at the table, uncomfortable with the praise but unable to deny that she loved singing more than anything else in the world. It was the one place she felt completely herself, completely free, as long as no one was watching. "How would you like to sing something tonight?" Elisa asked suddenly. Maya's head jerked up, her eyes wide with alarm. "What?" "Just one piece," Elisa continued, her expression warm but serious. Perhaps O mio babbino caro, since you know it well. We could perform it together. The restaurant seemed to fade away around Maya as panic rose in her chest. Sing? Here? In front of all these people? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Oh, that would be wonderful, her mother exclaimed, clasping her hands together. I don't think, Maya began, her voice barely above a whisper. You don't have to, Elisa said gently, noticing the girl's distress. But sometimes the most important moments in our lives come when we step outside our comfort zones. I was terrified the first time I sang in public, too. You were? Maya couldn't imagine this confident woman being afraid of anything. Elisa nodded, pulling out the empty chair at their table and sitting down to be at eye level with Maya. Absolutely. My knees were shaking so badly I thought I might fall over, but then I started singing and everything else disappeared. She leaned in slightly. I have a feeling you might experience the same thing. Maya glanced around the restaurant, at the tables filled with strangers enjoying their meals, at the waiters bustling about, at the small platform where Elisa had been performing. The thought of standing up there made her stomach clench. I've never sung in front of this many people, she admitted. How many have you sung in front of before? Elisa asked. Just my class at school. Maybe 30 people at most. And were you nervous then? Maya nodded. Very, but my teacher said I did well. I'm sure you did more than well, Elisa said with conviction. Listen, I'll be right there with you. We can sing it as a duet if that makes you more comfortable. I'll take the first verse, you take the second, and we'll finish together. How does that sound? Maya looked at her parents. Her father was beaming with excitement, while her mother watched her with gentle encouragement in her eyes. They had always supported her singing, driving her to lessons twice a week, sitting through countless practice sessions at home, never pushing her to perform but always assuring her that her voice was a gift worth sharing. You don't have to, sweetheart, her mother said softly, but we're here for you if you want to try. Maya took a deep breath, feeling the familiar way her diaphragm expanded, the way her vocal teacher had taught her. There was something about Elisa's presence that made the impossible seem possible. Maybe it was the way she spoke to Maya as a fellow musician rather than a child, or the genuine interest she had shown in Maya's notebook. Okay, she said finally, her voice small but determined. I'll try. Elisa's face lit up. Wonderful. I'll let Antonio, my pianist, know. We'll do it right after the break. She stood up and gave Maya's shoulder a gentle squeeze. Just breathe and remember, once you start singing, you'll forget everyone else is there. As Elisa walked away to speak with the pianist, Maya felt a wave of panic rising again. What had she just agreed to? She couldn't possibly get up in front of all these people and sing. What if her voice cracked? What if she forgot the words? What if everyone laughed? I changed my mind, she blurted out, looking desperately at her parents. I can't do this. Her father reached across the table and took her hand. Maya, do you remember when you were 7 and you had that solo in the school concert? You said the exact same thing right before you went on stage. And you were amazing, her mother added gently. This is different, Maya insisted, her voice trembling slightly. These are all grown-ups. They're expecting someone professional like Elisa. They're expecting to enjoy their dinner and hear some beautiful music, her father corrected. And that's exactly what they'll get when you sing. Maya took another deep breath, trying to calm the butterflies in her stomach. She glanced over at the piano where Elisa was talking animatedly with Antonio, occasionally gesturing back toward Maya's table. The pianist looked over, his expression curious. She believes in you, her mother said, following Maya's gaze. She wouldn't have asked if she didn't think you could do it. But why did she ask? Maya wondered aloud. She doesn't even know me. Sometimes people recognize something special in others, her father said. I think Elisa sees something of herself in you. The restaurant owner approached their table, smiling broadly. Your daughter is going to sing with Ms. Monteverde. What a treat for our guests. Maya felt her panic rising again at the realization that it was really happening. People were being told. There would be expectations. She has a lovely voice, her mother assured the owner while Maya sank a little lower in her seat. I'm sure she does. We've never had such a young performer before. This will be a special night at Bella Nota. He turned to Maya with genuine warmth. Don't be nervous, young lady. Our customers are very supportive. As the owner walked away, Maya stared down at her half-eaten tiramisu, no longer hungry. The minutes seemed to tick by both too quickly and too slowly. Part of her hoped that Elisa would forget, that the break would end and the soprano would simply continue with her planned program. Another part, a small but persistent voice deep inside, was starting to wonder what it would feel like to sing in this beautiful space with a real pianist accompanying her. Elisa returned to the performance area and stepped up to the microphone. The restaurant quieted as she smiled out at the diners. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have a special treat for you tonight. I've just met a young vocalist with extraordinary promise, and I've invited her to join me for the next piece." Maya's heart pounded so hard she was sure everyone in the restaurant could hear it. Elisa was looking in her direction now, her hand extended in invitation. "Maya, would you please come up and join me?" Every eye in the restaurant turned toward their table. Maya felt frozen in place, unable to move until her mother's gentle hand on her back gave her the smallest push of encouragement. "Go on," her mother whispered. "We're right here." On legs that felt like they might give way beneath her, Maya stood up. The short walk from her table to the performance area seemed to take an eternity. The faces of the diners blurred together as she passed, her focus narrowing to Elisa's outstretched hand, offering both guidance and opportunity. When Maya finally reached the platform, Elisa gave her a reassuring smile and bent down to whisper, "Just breathe and sing like you're in your bedroom. Forget about everyone else." As Maya took her place beside the accomplished soprano, Antonio adjusted the microphone to accommodate her height. The restaurant had fallen completely silent, all eyes on the unlikely pair about to perform. The poised, professional soprano and the small, nervous girl in the simple blue dress. Maya took a deep breath, and the pianist began to play. The first gentle notes from the piano filled the restaurant as Antonio began the familiar introduction to "O mio babino caro." Maya stood rigid beside Elisa, her hands clasped tightly in front of her blue dress, her eyes fixed on a point somewhere above the diners' heads. Her heart hammered against her ribs, and for a terrible moment, she wondered if she would even be able to produce a sound when it came time to sing. Elisa had bent down and whispered their plan one more time. "I'll take the first verse. You'll sing the second, and then we'll finish together. Just follow my lead." The introduction was nearly over. Maya glanced up at Elisa, who gave her an encouraging nod before turning to face the audience. Then, just as they had planned, Elisa began to sing. Her voice was even more beautiful up close, resonant and rich with emotion. Maya watched in awe as Elisa shaped each phrase, making the familiar melody sound fresh and heartfelt. The restaurant had fallen completely silent. All conversation halted, every eye on the elegant woman in the sparkling black dress. The first verse ended too quickly. Elisa turned slightly toward Maya, nodding almost imperceptibly as the piano continued into the introduction of the second verse. This was it. Maya's moment had arrived. She took a deep breath, feeling the expansion of her diaphragm the way her teacher had shown her countless times. She opened her mouth, praying that her voice wouldn't crack or waver, and began to sing. "O mio babino caro." The first three notes came out softly, almost a whisper. Maya saw a few people in the audience lean forward slightly, straining to hear, but as she continued into the phrase, something shifted inside her. The familiar melody took over, and her voice grew stronger, more confident with each note. "Mi piace, bello, bello." By the second line, Maya had forgotten about the audience. She was simply singing, the way she did in her bedroom, the way she did when no one was listening. Except this time everyone was listening, and what they heard caused a ripple of astonishment to pass through the restaurant. From such a small, unassuming girl came a voice of surprising power and clarity. It filled the space effortlessly, soaring over the piano accompaniment with a purity that seemed almost otherworldly. But more surprising than the technical quality of her voice was the emotional maturity of her interpretation. Somehow this 12-year-old conveyed all the yearning and pleading of the young girl in the aria, who begs her father to let her marry the man she loves. Near the dessert cart, a waiter stood frozen, the plates in his hands momentarily forgotten. At the bar, conversations died mid-sentence as people turned to locate the source of this unexpected sound. Maya's parents sat stunned at their table, despite having heard their daughter sing countless times before. In this setting, with the professional pianist accompanying her, Maya's voice had transformed into something even they didn't fully recognize. Elisa had stepped back slightly, giving Maya the spotlight. Her expression was one of delighted surprise, her eyes wide as she watched the young girl lose herself in the music. As Maya approached the emotional climax of the verse, the high note on Babbo Pietà, her voice opened up even more, the note perfectly placed and effortlessly sustained. A woman at a nearby table brought her hand to her mouth, visibly moved. An older gentleman dabbed discreetly at his eyes with his napkin. When Maya finished her verse, there was a moment of breathless silence before Elisa stepped forward again to join her for the final section. Their voices blended beautifully, Elisa adjusting her volume to complement rather than overpower Maya's lighter tone. Together they brought the aria to its conclusion, the final notes hanging in the air like crystal. For 2 heartbeats after they finished, the restaurant remained utterly silent. Maya, suddenly aware again of where she was and what she had done, felt her cheeks grow warm as the reality of having sung in front of all these strangers came rushing back. She glanced nervously at Elisa, who was beaming at her with what looked like genuine pride. Then the applause began. It started with a single person near the back of the restaurant and quickly spread until everyone was clapping enthusiastically. Many diners rose to their feet, creating a wave of standing ovations that swept through the space. The sound was deafening in the relatively small restaurant, punctuated by calls of "Bravo" and "Encore." Maya stood frozen, overwhelmed by the response. She had never imagined anything like this when she'd reluctantly agreed to sing. Elisa put an arm around her shoulders and leaned down to speak into her ear over the continuing applause. That was extraordinary. Maya, absolutely extraordinary. Maya could only nod, unable to find words. She glanced toward her parents' table and saw them both standing, her mother wiping tears from her cheeks, her father clapping harder than anyone in the room, his face split with a huge, proud smile. The restaurant owner hurried over to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, what an incredible surprise we've had tonight. Please give another round of applause for the amazing young Maya Chen and our wonderful Elisa Monteverdi." The applause swelled again. Maya felt Elisa gently guiding her into a small bow, which she managed to perform despite feeling like her legs might give out beneath her. "Would you like to say anything?" Elisa asked quietly. Maya shook her head quickly. Singing was one thing, but speaking to all these people was quite another. Elisa seemed to understand. She stepped to the microphone instead. "Thank you all for your wonderful response. I think we've all witnessed something very special tonight. Maya has only just begun her musical journey, but I think it's clear she has an extraordinary gift." As the applause finally began to die down, Maya was aware of people taking photos with their phones. A few had even recorded her performance. The thought made her both excited and nervous. Evidence of this night would exist beyond her memory. "Can I go back to my parents now?" she whispered to Elisa. "Of course," Elisa replied with a warm smile. "I'll walk you back." As they stepped down from the platform, several diners reached out to touch Maya's arm or pat her shoulder, murmuring words of praise and encouragement. Maya nodded and smiled shyly, barely able to process what was happening. It felt like a dream, a good one, but so far removed from her ordinary life that she couldn't quite believe it was real. When they reached her family's table, her mother immediately enveloped her in a tight hug. "My darling girl," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "You were magnificent." Her father was next, wrapping both Maya and her mother in his arms. "I knew you could do it," he said, his voice unusually gruff. "I just knew it." Elisa watched the family moment with a gentle smile before addressing Maya's parents. "Your daughter has a truly remarkable voice. The technical foundation is there, but more importantly, she has that rare ability to communicate emotion through music. It can't be taught. It's either there or it isn't." "Thank you for giving her this opportunity," Maya's mother said, finally releasing her daughter. "We've never seen her perform like that in public before." "It was my pleasure," Elisa replied sincerely. "In fact," she paused, seeming to consider something before continuing. "I'd like to stay in touch if that's all right with you. Maya has potential that shouldn't go undeveloped." Maya, who had been quietly absorbing everything, looked up in surprise. "Really?" "Really," Elisa confirmed. "I have some contacts at the youth conservatory who would be very interested in meeting you." The conversation was interrupted by a middle-aged man who approached their table with purpose in his stride. He was well-dressed in a charcoal suit with wire-rimmed glasses and a thoughtful expression. "Excuse me?" he said politely. I hope I'm not intruding, but I felt compelled to introduce myself. I'm Thomas Wilson, music critic for the Daily Chronicle. Maya's parents exchanged surprised glances. I was here simply enjoying a meal and didn't expect to be working tonight, he continued with a small smile. But after what I just heard, I'd be remiss not to cover it. He turned his attention directly to Maya. Young lady, you have a remarkable gift. Would it be all right if I asked you a few questions for my column? Maya looked helplessly at her parents, overwhelmed by this new development. Perhaps we could arrange something for tomorrow, her father suggested, noticing Maya's deer-in-headlights expression. It's getting late, and this has been quite an exciting evening for Maya. Of course, the critic agreed quickly. Here's my card. I'd be very interested in learning more about Maya's training and background. As her father took the card, Maya noticed that other diners were still stealing glances at their table. A few had their phones out, probably sharing what they'd witnessed on social media. The realization that her impromptu performance might spread beyond the walls of this restaurant was both thrilling and terrifying. I should get back to my final set, Elisa said, seeming to sense Maya's growing overwhelm. But Maya, thank you for sharing your beautiful voice tonight. It was truly a privilege to sing with you. Thank you for asking me, Maya replied softly, finally finding her voice again. I never thought I could do something like this. Elisa smiled knowingly. Sometimes we surprise ourselves with what we're capable of when we take a chance. She squeezed Maya's shoulder gently before turning to her parents. I'll be in touch about the conservatory. I think they'll be very interested in meeting Maya. As Elisa returned to the performance area, Maya sank back into her chair, feeling suddenly exhausted but also strangely energized. The restaurant around them had mostly returned to normal, though conversations now buzzed with excitement about what they had just witnessed. Are you okay, sweetheart? Her mother asked, studying her face with concern. Maya nodded slowly, trying to process everything that had happened in the last 15 minutes. I think so. It was scary at first, but then... She paused, searching for the right words. Then it was like I forgot where I was. I was just singing, her father smiled knowingly. That's how it feels when you're doing what you were born to do. Maya looked around the restaurant, at the people enjoying their meals, at Elisa preparing for her final set, at the piano where Antonio was shuffling through his music. Just an hour ago, this had been a normal evening out with her parents. Now, somehow, it felt like the first page of a new chapter in her life. The buzz of conversation throughout Bella Nota had transformed. Before Maya's performance, diners had been focused on their meals and their own private discussions. Now the restaurant hummed with a different energy as people discussed what they had just witnessed. Many glanced repeatedly toward the Chen family's table, some openly pointing, others trying to be more discreet in their curiosity about the young girl who had stunned them all. Would you like some more water, sweetheart? Maya's mother asked, noticing that her daughter had barely touched her dessert since returning to the table. Maya nodded, her mind still replaying what had just happened. Had she really sung in front of all these people? Had they really applauded like that? It felt almost like a dream. A waiter appeared with a fresh glass of water, smiling warmly at Maya. That was incredible, he said quietly, as if sharing a secret. I've worked here for every opera night for 2 years, and I've never heard anything like that. Thank you, Maya replied shyly, not quite knowing how to respond to such praise. As the waiter left, Maya noticed a young couple at a nearby table leaning toward each other and whispering, their eyes darting occasionally in her direction. The woman held up her phone, showing something to her companion. With a jolt, Maya realized they were probably watching a recording of her performance. People are taking videos, she whispered to her parents, a note of panic in her voice. Her father nodded. It's a compliment, Maya. They want to remember what they heard tonight. But what if they put them online? Her mother reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Would that be so terrible? You should be proud of what you did. Before Maya could respond, Elisa's voice came through the speakers again as she began her final set of the evening. The restaurant quieted once more, though Maya noticed that people seemed to be paying closer attention now. Elisa sang beautifully, of course, but Maya could tell that many diners were comparing her performance to what they had just heard from the unlikely young singer. Near the bar, the restaurant owner, Mr. Ricci, stood watching Elisa with a thoughtful expression. As the song ended, He beckoned to one of the waiters and whispered something in his ear. The waiter nodded and made his way toward the Chen family's table. "Excuse me," he said softly, not wanting to disturb other diners listening to Elisa's performance. "Mr. Ricci would like to speak with you when you have a moment. No rush at all just before you leave this evening." Maya's parents exchanged curious glances before her father nodded. "Of course." As the waiter left, Maya felt a flutter of anxiety. "Why does he want to talk to us?" "I'm sure he just wants to tell you how wonderful you were," her mother assured her. Across the restaurant, Maya spotted the music critic, Mr. Wilson, making notes on a small pad while watching Elisa perform. Occasionally, his eyes would drift toward Maya, as if he were still processing what he had heard from her. Maya quickly looked away when he caught her watching him. "Do you think I should talk to that reporter?" she asked her parents hesitantly. Her father considered this. "Only if you want to, Maya. You don't have to do anything you're not comfortable with. But if he's going to write about me anyway, then it might be nice for him to hear from you directly," her mother finished. "But it's completely your choice." Maya nodded, thinking it over. Just an hour ago, the idea of speaking to a stranger about her singing would have been unthinkable. But something had shifted inside her when she stood on that small platform. For those few minutes while she was singing, she had felt a confidence she'd never experienced before. Maybe she could hold on to a piece of that feeling. Elisa finished another song and the audience applauded enthusiastically. As the clapping died down, she spoke into the microphone. "For my final piece tonight, I'd like to sing something that feels appropriate after the wonderful surprise we all experienced earlier." She paused, her eyes finding Maya in the audience. "This is Quando m'en va from la Bohème, also known as Musetta's Waltz. It's about someone who knows the power of her gifts and isn't afraid to share them with the world." As Elisa began to sing the playful, confident aria, Maya felt her cheeks grow warm. Was this message for her? The song told the story of a woman who knows that when she walks down the street, everyone stops to admire her beauty. It was about confidence, about understanding your own worth. Maya listened intently, absorbing both the music and the message behind Elisa's choice. At a table near the kitchen, a group of staff had gathered during their break, peering through the service doors to watch Elisa perform. But Maya noticed that several of them were looking at her instead, whispering among themselves. One young waitress gave her a small wave when their eyes met, which Maya shyly returned. "Look at that," her father whispered, nodding toward the kitchen staff. "You've got fans already." The thought was both thrilling and overwhelming. Maya had never wanted attention or fame. She sang because she loved it, because something inside her needed to express itself through music. The idea that people might now expect things from her, might want to hear her sing again, brought a mixture of excitement and anxiety. As Elisa concluded her final song, the restaurant erupted in applause once more. She took a graceful bow, then gestured toward Maya's table, drawing everyone's attention there again. "And let's have one more round of applause for young Maya Chen, who reminded us all tonight of the unexpected joy that music can bring." The diners obliged enthusiastically, many turning in their seats to smile and applaud in Maya's direction. Maya shrunk down slightly in her chair but managed a small smile and nod of acknowledgement. "Ready to go talk to Mr. Ricci?" her father asked as the applause died down, and Elisa thanked the audience for the final time. Maya nodded, though her stomach was fluttering with nerves again. What could the restaurant owner want? They made their way across the restaurant toward the bar where Mr. Ricci was speaking with several patrons. As they approached, the conversations paused and people looked at Maya with interest and warmth. "Ah, the Chen family," Mr. Ricci exclaimed, coming around the bar to greet them. He shook hands with Maya's parents before crouching down slightly to be at eye level with Maya. "Young lady, you've given Bellinate a night we'll never forget." "Thank you," Maya said quietly, her hands clasped in front of her. "I've been running this restaurant for 15 years, he continued, straightening up. "We've had many talented performers, but never have I seen the entire place come to a complete standstill, the way it did when you sang." Maya's mother placed a protective hand on her daughter's shoulder. "It was kind of Ms. Monteverdi to give her the opportunity." "Very kind indeed," Mr. Ricci agreed. "But it was Maya who took that opportunity and created magic with it." He gestured toward the walls of the restaurant, which Maya now noticed were lined with framed photographs. "We document special moments at Bellinate. visiting celebrities, milestone anniversaries, even a proposal or two. And now I'd very much like to add a photo of Maya's debut performance. Oh. Maya's father seemed pleasantly surprised. That's very kind. Would that be all right with you, Maya? Mr. Ricci asked. We'd place it right here. He pointed to an empty spot on the wall near the entrance, a prime position where everyone entering the restaurant would see it. The idea of her photo on the wall where anyone could see it made Maya's stomach tighten with anxiety. But there was something appealing about it, too. A permanent record of this night when everything had changed. I guess that would be okay, she said, her voice small but steady. Wonderful, Mr. Ricci beamed. And there's one more thing. I'd like to offer Maya a standing invitation to perform at Bella Notte whenever she wishes. Perhaps once a month or for special occasions? Maya's eyes widened in surprise. Really? Really, Mr. Ricci confirmed. Our customers would love it, and we could work around your schedule, of course. Maybe weekend afternoons would be best for a student? Maya looked up at her parents, uncertain how to respond to such an unexpected offer. That's very generous, her father said diplomatically. Perhaps we could discuss the details later. This has been quite an overwhelming evening for Maya. Of course, Mr. Ricci agreed immediately. No pressure at all. Here's my card. Just let me know when you'd like to talk further. As they thanked the restaurant owner and prepared to leave, Maya noticed that Elisa was surrounded by admirers near the piano. Their eyes met across the room and Elisa gave her a warm smile and a small wave. Maya waved back, feeling a connection with the professional singer that transcended their brief acquaintance. Near the door, the music critic, Mr. Wilson, was putting on his coat. He nodded respectfully to the Chen family as they approached. I meant what I said earlier, he told Maya. You have a remarkable gift. I hope you'll consider speaking with me for my column. Maya took a deep breath, drawing on the same courage that had allowed her to sing earlier. I could answer a few questions now if you'd like. Her parents exchanged surprised glances but nodded encouragingly. Mr. Wilson's eyebrows rose slightly. That would be wonderful. Just a few quick questions, I promise. As they stepped aside near the entrance, several departing diners slowed to watch, recognizing Maya as the young performer who had stunned them all. First, how long have you been studying voice? Mr. Wilson asked, taking out his notepad. 8 years, Maya replied, her voice growing stronger as she spoke about singing. Since I was 4? And who is your teacher? Mrs. Abramson at the community music school. Mr. Wilson scribbled notes quickly. Have you performed publicly before tonight? Maya shook her head. Just at school recitals and competitions. Nothing like this. What made you agree to sing tonight? Maya thought about this question carefully. Ms. Monteverdi made me feel like I could do it, and... She hesitated, then continued with newfound confidence. I love singing more than anything. Tonight I discovered that sharing it with others makes it even more special. Mr. Wilson smiled, seeming genuinely touched by her answer. One last question, Maya. What are your dreams for your singing? The question caught her off guard. Before tonight, her dreams had been small and private. To master difficult pieces, to please her teacher, to express the music she felt inside. But now, having experienced the power of performing for an audience, new possibilities were opening before her. I'm not sure yet, she said honestly. But I think I'd like to keep sharing my voice with people. It felt good to make them happy. As they finally stepped out of the restaurant into the cool night air, Maya took a deep breath, letting the reality of the evening sink in. Behind them, through the windows of Bella Notte, she could see diners still talking excitedly, some watching her leave. A few raised their glasses in her direction. Well, her father said, putting an arm around her shoulders as they walked toward their car. I think it's safe to say this wasn't quite the quiet family dinner we expected. Maya laughed, feeling lighter somehow, as if a weight she hadn't known she was carrying had been lifted. Definitely not. Are you okay? Her mother asked, studying her face in the glow of the streetlights. It was a lot to happen in one night. Maya considered the question seriously. Was she okay? Everything had changed so quickly. People knew her name now, had heard her sing, wanted things from her. It was scary and exciting all at once. I think I am, she said finally with a small smile. I think I'm more than okay. Maya's alarm clock beeped insistently, pulling her from a deep sleep. She reached out to silence it, then lay still for a moment, staring at the ceiling of her bedroom. The events of the previous night flooded back, standing on that small platform beside Elisa Monteverdi. singing for a restaurant full of strangers, the thunderous applause that followed. Had it really happened? It felt almost like a dream. She sat up and reached for her phone on the nightstand. There were several new message notifications from her friends. Curious, she opened the first one. "OMG, Maya. Is this you? You're amazing." The message included a link to a video. With slightly trembling fingers, Maya tapped it, and there she was, standing next to Elisa in her blue dress, singing "O mio babino caro" at Bella Notte restaurant. The video had over 2,000 views already. Maya set the phone down on her bed, heart racing. Someone had posted her performance online and it was spreading. She wasn't sure whether to feel excited or terrified. "Maya, are you up?" Her mother's voice called from the hallway. "Breakfast is ready." "Coming," she replied, quickly pulling on a pair of jeans and a comfortable sweater. When she entered the kitchen, both her parents were already seated at the table. Her father was reading something on his tablet with an expression of amazement. "Good morning, sweetheart," her mother said, setting a plate of pancakes in front of Maya's usual chair. "Did you sleep well?" "Kind of," Maya replied, sitting down. "I kept dreaming about singing." Her father looked up from his tablet. "Well, you're not the only one thinking about your singing this morning. Have you checked your phone?" Maya nodded. "Someone posted a video. My friends are messaging me about it." "It's more than just your friends," her father said, turning his tablet toward her. "Look." On the screen was an article from the Daily Chronicle, the local newspaper. The headline read, "Young vocal prodigy stuns diners at Bella Notte." Below it was a photo of Maya singing alongside Elisa, her face captured in a moment of pure musical absorption. "Mr. Wilson works fast," her mother commented, referring to the music critic they'd met the night before. Maya scanned the article, her pancakes temporarily forgotten. 12-year-old Maya Chen may not be a household name yet, but after last night's impromptu performance at Bella Notte restaurant, the local music scene is buzzing about this remarkable young talent. The article began. It went on to describe her performance in glowing terms, calling her a rare and authentic prodigy, with technical precision that belies her years and emotional depth that cannot be taught. "There's more," her father said, scrolling down to show her the rest of the article. Mr. Wilson had quoted Elisa Monteverdi. "In my 20 years as a professional vocalist, I've rarely encountered such natural talent combined with solid technical foundation. Maya has that indefinable quality that makes an audience stop and truly listen." The article concluded with a mention that Maya had been studying voice since age 4 and noted that this previously undiscovered talent will surely be one to watch in the coming years. "Wow," Maya whispered, not knowing what else to say. "There's something else," her mother said, her tone cautious but excited. "We got a call this morning from Dr. Novak at the Youth Conservatory. Apparently, Elisa contacted him last night after the performance. He'd like to meet with you this afternoon if you're willing." Maya looked up from the tablet in surprise. The Youth Conservatory was the most prestigious music program in the city, a training ground for serious young musicians. Students there received top-level instruction and performed in formal recitals several times a year. Getting accepted was a dream for many young musicians. "Me? At the conservatory?" Her father nodded. "It seems Elisa was serious about those contacts she mentioned. Dr. Novak said they occasionally make exceptions to their usual audition process when someone with exceptional talent is recommended by one of their professional affiliates." Maya sat back in her chair, trying to process this information. Yesterday morning she had been just another 7th grader who happened to take singing lessons. Now less than 24 hours later she was being written about in the newspaper and invited to meet with the director of the Youth Conservatory. "What do you think, Maya?" her mother asked gently. "We told Dr. Novak we'd need to discuss it with you first. There's no pressure to do anything you're not comfortable with." Maya picked up her fork and took a small bite of pancake, chewing slowly as she considered. The attention was overwhelming and a bit scary, but when she thought about singing at Bella Notte, that moment when everything else had fallen away and there was only the music, she felt a warm certainty spreading through her. "I'd like to meet with him," she said finally. "I want to keep singing." Her parents exchanged pleased glances. "We'll call him back after breakfast," her father said. "And Maya, we're really proud of you, not just for how beautifully you sang, but for having the courage to try something that scared you. Maya smiled, a new confidence evident in her expression that hadn't been there before last night. Later that afternoon, Maya stood with her parents in the impressive lobby of the Carson Youth Conservatory, a historic building with high ceilings and walls adorned with photographs of notable alumni who had gone on to professional music careers. The Chen family? A tall woman with a friendly smile approached them. "I'm Ms. Patel, Dr. Novak's assistant. He's ready to see you now. Right this way." She led them down a hallway lined with practice rooms. Through the windows and the doors, Maya could see young musicians working with instructors. A cellist bent over her instrument in deep concentration, a flutist carefully following along with a metronome, a boy about her age sitting at a piano with a serious expression. Ms. Patel stopped at a door marked Director and knocked lightly before opening it. "Dr. Novak, the Chen family is here." Dr. Novak was a slender man in his 60s with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He rose from behind his desk to greet them. "Welcome, welcome," he said warmly, shaking hands with Maya's parents before turning his attention to Maya herself. "And you must be the young lady I've been hearing so much about." Maya nodded shyly. "Thank you for meeting with us, sir." "The pleasure is mine," he replied. "Please have a seat." As they settled into comfortable chairs, Maya noticed that Dr. Novak had a laptop open on his desk. The paused video visible on the screen was unmistakably her performance from the night before. "I must say," Dr. Novak began, "when Elisa Monteverdi calls me at nearly 11 o'clock at night insisting that I must see a video of a 12-year-old girl singing in a restaurant, I was skeptical. Elisa is not easily impressed." He smiled at Maya. "But then I watched this and I understood her excitement immediately." He turned the laptop slightly so they could all see the screen, then pressed play. Maya felt strange watching herself sing, but she couldn't deny that the girl in the video seemed transformed by the music, her expression serene yet passionate as the notes flowed effortlessly from her. "What you have, Maya," Dr. Novak said when the clip ended, "is something very rare. Technical skill can be taught, and you already have an impressive foundation there. But the ability to communicate emotion, to make the audience feel what you're feeling, that's an innate gift." "Thank you," Maya replied softly. "I'd like to offer you a place in our Young Artist program," he continued. "It's our most selective track designed for students who show professional potential. You would have weekly private lessons with our top vocal instructor, Mrs. Cardozo, as well as classes in music theory, performance techniques, and language coaching for proper pronunciation in Italian, German, and French." Maya's parents looked as stunned as she felt. "That's very generous," her father said. "But isn't there usually an extensive audition process?" Dr. Novak nodded. "Usually, yes. But occasionally, when we encounter exceptional talent through a trusted recommendation, we can bypass some of our standard procedures." He smiled at Maya. "Consider your performance last night your audition, one you passed with flying colors." "Would this be an addition to her regular school?" her mother asked. "Yes, the program meets 3 afternoons a week and Saturday mornings. It's demanding, but we work with our students to ensure they maintain balance with their academic studies." Maya's mind was racing. 3 afternoons a week at the conservatory, learning from professional musicians surrounded by other students who took music as seriously as she did. It sounded both thrilling and intimidating. "There's something else you should know," Dr. Novak added, his expression becoming more serious. "Being part of the Young Artist program means public performances, recitals, community events, even competitions eventually. For some students, that's the most challenging aspect." Maya bit her lip, thinking about her stage fright. But then she remembered how it had felt at Bellinata once she'd started singing. The way the restaurant and all the people had seemed to fade away, leaving only the music. "I think I'd like to try," she said with quiet determination. "Last night was scary at first, but then it felt right." Dr. Novak's face broke into a warm smile. "That's exactly what I hoped you'd say." As they left the conservatory an hour later, paperwork completed and Maya officially enrolled in the Young Artist program, they passed a wall of upcoming performance announcements. Her mother stopped suddenly, pointing to a poster. "Look at that! Bella Notte is hosting a special youth music night next month." Maya studied the poster, which advertised an evening showcasing talented young musicians from the area. At the bottom was a note, Special appearance by Elisa Monteverde and introducing Maya Chen. They've already put your name on the poster, her father said, amazed. Mr. Ricci works fast, too. Maya stared at her name on the poster, a mixture of anxiety and excitement bubbling up inside her. Her name, on a poster, announcing that she would sing. It was really happening. Outside the conservatory, the autumn air was crisp and invigorating. As they walked to their car, Maya's phone pinged with a new message notification. It was from an unknown number. Maya, it's Elisa Monteverde. Dr. Novak just called to tell me the good news. I'm so thrilled you'll be joining the conservatory program. Looking forward to our performance next month at Bellinate. Your journey is just beginning, and I'm honored to have played a small part in it. Keep singing from your heart. Maya read the message twice, a smile spreading across her face. Good news? Her mother asked, noticing her expression. It's from Elisa, Maya replied. She's happy about the conservatory. We all are, her father said, putting an arm around her shoulders. It's going to mean a lot of hard work, you know. Maya nodded, thinking about everything that had happened since yesterday evening, from reluctantly agreeing to sing at the restaurant to now being enrolled in an elite music program and scheduled for a formal performance. Her life had changed completely in less than 24 hours. As they reached their car, Maya paused and looked back at the conservatory building. Through one of the practice room windows, she could see a young violinist playing with intense concentration, lost in the music. I'm ready for the hard work, she said with newfound confidence. I think this is what I was meant to do. Her parents exchanged proud glances over her head as they got into the car. Behind them, on a lamppost near the conservatory entrance, a maintenance worker was hanging a new banner announcing the upcoming season of student performances. In a few months, Maya's name would be on one of those banners too. For the 12-year-old prodigy who had hidden her gift for so long, a new chapter was beginning, one filled with challenges and opportunities, hard work and beautiful music. The girl who had once sung only in her bedroom with the door closed was stepping confidently into the spotlight, ready to share her extraordinary voice with the world.